Hey everybody, how you doing out there? Looks like we are live on Facebook, and let me go ahead and take care of this. It's going to be a double sound, so one moment. Okay, great. So now we don't have any double sound, and let's remove this little test pattern here, and then we could go ahead and begin. So today, this is what we're going to do. We are going to just talk about this technique I'm perfecting, on the way to perfecting it. You can always do better, you can always, but I really feel that I'm getting to a point using the India ink and this paper where it is something of interest to you, those who are into airbrushing and don't know about using India ink and how valuable that could be. Don't know what India ink is and how it reacts to the paper, how it actually erases, how you could use it in a variety of ways, not just the stereotypical or the obvious of just airbrushing it, but how to build your darks by decreasing the amount of water that you add to the ink with time, working from light to dark, a lot like the way you would do, let's say, if you're working in Createx or Golden or any airbrush colors, even very similar to if you're working with urethane. So something definitely to check out. So, all right. So if you're out there, just go ahead and send me a very quick hello, letting me know. Just type in, "Hey Tim, I see you," so I know I could go ahead and begin with this. So as you can see, I'm pretty far along with this portrait, and it's pretty exciting. I built it very slow. I didn't go too crazy with that. Let me get my tablet, and this way I'll be able to see what's happening. Just got to make sure that the sound is off, otherwise we'll be hearing double. So definitely, anyone's out there, go ahead and leave a comment so I can hear how your week's going, what's happening with your artwork. So we are on both YouTube and Facebook tonight, which is very cool. And have any of you guys or girls actually went ahead and started working with India ink in your airbrush, or have you used India ink just by using the brush, the brush and water and India ink? Have you tried that? If you did, I would love to hear your comments. Ink is so versatile. You can use it in so many different ways, but the what I use is the Higgins waterproof India ink, which is really fantastic. It really maintains its binding so it doesn't separate, so you'll get these really smooth areas of tone, almost like a drawing. It's really cool. Almost like a drawing, but you can get really wonderful shading and gradations, which would be almost impossible to get with drawing. At least that's what I find. And I draw all the time, and I really love this on the tinted paper. You can get some effects, I think, next level effects, which is really, really wonderful. So right now I'm just going to log into my tablet and just check and see if you guys are seeing me on Facebook. Hey Bill, how you doing? I do see Bill there. How are you, sir? Thank you so much for joining me today. So, oh, okay. So you're working until 11. So it's good to see you, Bill. But I do understand that you do have to, work. We got to make the money, right, Bill? That's the most important thing. So I'm just going to go quickly to Um, so cool. And so right now we're in good shape and we can go ahead. Oh, let's see. Oh, Bill, good question. I'm glad you asked that. So what I use for the highlights is this right here. And this is the Pit Pastel. It is, let me get a better camera angle for you. This is a pretty good angle here. This is the Pit Pastel pencils. You see, I want to get the best angle for you. And I'll just change the focus here. There we go. So these are about $2 in the art store. You can get them at Dick Blick. And they work great. Now, I've been working with this paper. This is cardstock by De La Rowney. Hey, Willie, how you doing, man? How's everything going? Everything's good over here. Oh, definitely, Bill. That's for sure. No, we definitely need you over at the airport. Get people safe. So I appreciate you doing that. But this is what I use. It's the best pastel pencil you can buy. And it just works wonderful with this paper. I'll tell you, it's really great. So I'll just change the focus back. Well, let me go ahead and remove this live stream message here. Okay. So today we're just going to pretty much do some of the finishing touches here and just show you what my thinking was, how I arrived here, and you know how you could go about this, what materials would be best for it. So right now I'm basically using this brush right here. This is the CM-SB Custom Micron. It works really great with the ink. One of the things with the ink here is that there's very little tip dry. A fraction of the amount of tip dry that you would see or you would experience using any other medium. So I really, really do recommend it. You really will love it. And what I'm doing now is just gonna soften some of these edges here. Now there's this, in the anatomy of the skull, there's a little bit of an indentation here. And with the airbrush, we can really get that. Now my pressure is super low. And what I'm using for my dilution is 3 full eyedroppers. So these full of water, 3 of them. And then I'm using only 3 drops of the eyedropper that comes in with the Higgins waterproof ink. And that's like a mid-tone. It's not totally dark. And how's the sound? Is it okay, guys? I would say my pressure is probably around 10. So that's probably, you know, what we're at. Hey, Joe, how's it going? Good to see ya. How you been, sir? And so we're just going to very soft. I mean, this is like a really soft detail, so you have to really be gentle here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give that a moment to dry a second, and then we're just going to tap a little bit just to calm down that little indentation. And the same up here. Just calm that down. And then if you find it with this particular technique, Wendy, how you doing? Good to see ya. Thanks for stopping by, Wendy. It's always great to see you. How's the studio coming out? And I'm just going to tap. Now you can tap this with the kneaded eraser, almost as if it's pencil, which is really great. Really is fantastic. And I was telling Bill earlier that I'm using the Pit Pastel for the highlights. So as you can see, you can really go far with this. You can really take this even further realistically than I am. And that's great. Oh, well, you take it easy, Wendy. There's no rush. There's no points for speed, I always say. As long as we get it done. And, you know, that's a big job you got there. Oh, thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. So last couple of weeks I was just doing YouTube, and then I was doing just Facebook. Now I'm doing Facebook and YouTube again. I had some internet issues. I think it's fixed now. So as you can see, I'm just really working on the anatomy here, and that's real subtle. But I think that subtlety is really going to take this painting to the next level. Painting, drawing, it's kind of in the middle. I kind of like the fact that it's kind of not a painting, it's not a drawing. Because pen and ink is considered drawing, right? And yet I'm painting with the airbrush, so it's kind of in between. I like the marriage of the two. That's why I like pastels so much. I'm always working on the drawing as I go, which is great. Oh, cool. You are on YouTube, Wendy. How's everything sound? Good? Everything's looking good as far as sound and picture quality? I think I have it down today. And as you can see, oh, thanks, Wendy. Thanks for that sound check. I always appreciate that. So I'm deepening up the darks here. I want to make sure that when I deepen up these darks, these midtones are gonna pop out, which is cool. So that's neat. Then I'm going to come in with the, which is really going to be neat, is I'm going to come in with the liner brush using the same ink and sort of work out some of these really rich darks in the hair. So that's going to be fantastic. And it just goes to show you that, you know, we can really push the medium pretty far. And we can use tools that are familiar with us, familiar to us. And as far as the hair, just take your time. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking my sweet time. And you know, you can go ahead and use this freehand shield to get some nice hard edges, which I like doing. Like, now remember, you want to cover up where you don't want to paint, and you want to leave exposed where you want to paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick edge here. Same here. You know, this darker paper, I didn't know it was going to work as well, but it really works great with the airbrush. So this is an experiment, everybody, and the experiment, I started the experiment with Natalie Wood last week, and that was good, but that was on a lighter paper. This was a little more ambitious, I think, to go ahead and try this darker paper. But it seems like the pastel is, not pastel, the airbrush and the ink is really working well with it. Just responding perfectly. And so India inks are transparent. So the nature of a transparent color is that as you go darker, as you go over it, one layer at a time, it automatically gets darker. However, with my method of decreasing the amount of water I'm adding, thank you so much, Willie. I appreciate that very much. And with decreasing the amount of water I'm adding, essentially makes it much darker. So what I recommend, now this is what I'm going to do. This is a really good resource here. Now, I worked on this years ago, and this was for me groundbreaking. And this is a chart of mixtures with the Higgins waterproof India ink and mixing it with all of the gradations, getting the gradations. And as I have a lot of water, I use less and less water. And as you can see, with less and less water, it gets darker and darker, which is very interesting, all the way until almost black. Now, ink is too strong. I would never, ever, ever recommend just shooting ink straight through. I mean, I really dilute this stuff really strongly. So, my email address is paintedglyphs@gmail.com. If you guys email me, and this way I'll go ahead and if you guys email me, I'll go ahead and I'll send you a JPEG of this, a really good JPEG of this, which really will be informative. So go ahead and send me your email, and I'll be more than happy to do that for you. Oh, I have a question here. Let's see. Oh, Joe, no problem. So this is my favorite paper in the world. It's available at Dick Blick. It is gunmetal, this color. Let me see if I could. There it is, gunmetal. And it's by De La Rowney. See if I can get that. Okay, cool. See, it's by De La Rowney. It's 8.5 by 11. It comes in a pack of 10, and they're usually about $7 to $8. I didn't realize that this would actually be as powerful of a surface for ink and for airbrush. So definitely get your hands on it. Hey, Picola, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much for checking out the channel and the live stream. And what we're doing is this is India ink, Higgins waterproof India ink, and we're doing that with the custom micron right here, the CM-SB. And so we're at the finishing stages, but tonight I'm basically going to be talking about, the advantages of using India ink as opposed to other brands. And if you're a newbie, now if you are someone who's just starting out, India ink will be refreshing for you, and I'll tell you so many reasons. Oh, that is great. That is fantastic, Wendy. So yes, and so you'll find that this is a very thick paper, and it's very forgiving, and it does not warp at all. And I've been really pushing this to the limit, guys. Really, I have. So definitely give it a try. It's only $8. You get 10 sheets, so you can't go wrong. And as you can see, I'm just taking my time. Yeah, Wendy, it's really great. I've been using a cardstock for years. Anyone remember Pearl Paints, that company? They were in New York City, and it was a great company. And the store in New York City actually had 8 floors of art supplies. It was just unbelievable. So fantastic. Now, I'm going to show you something really cool. You guys are going to like this if you haven't seen it. Can any of you guys tell me what this is? This is, and you know, those have been around the art world, you know, the airbrush world. I think you would know what this is. So, this is actually what we're going to use to get some texture in here. I already used that and you know, you want to get a organic texture. So, yes, exactly. It's called Blackbeard wheat. And this is really cool. You can get it, sometimes you can get it, not always, but you can get it at, let's say, your craft store. And I got like I got like $7. I got like 3 or 4, almost like a lifetime supply of this. It's dried out and it has these black tendrils. And I use it to actually go ahead and get some really nice organic. Now, what better way to get organic texture than from something organic? I don't know. I'm definitely not going to try. I guess I would have to make bread out of it or something. But what I'm going to do is just show you quickly how, if you spray in between here, you can get some organic shapes. And so I think that's a really great technique when it was shown to me years ago. Because you know, we're people, no matter how hard we try, it's almost impossible to get organic technique, so organic shapes. There we go. So that really helps a lot. Yeah, it really is a great technique, so I highly recommend it. And as you can see, I'm just getting some really nice organic hair-like pattern here. And you want to move it around and you want to get different shapes. You don't want to repeat the pattern because that would pretty much, you know, ruin the reason why we're doing this in the first place. So that's the Blackbeard wheat. I think that's a really cool technique, and I'm glad I was able to show you guys that today. What I want to do is maybe darken this area here, just right here. So I'm going to show you guys real quick. Now, I got it at a craft store, Wendy, the Blackbeard wheat, and you have to keep looking because it's not always available. So it's definitely going to be take some patience. I hope you find it right away. I'm sure you can get it online. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this right here. Remember, you want to cover where you don't want to spray, and where you do want to spray, you want it uncovered. Now, at this late stage of the game, any variation is really going to show up, guys, so you really want to be careful with that contour. See, and I sort of darkened that, and I kind of like that. It sort of gives emphasis to that area to contour. You want hard and soft edges, right? You definitely do. So you want to make sure that you have those variety of edges. And lots of freehand shields. No, that's actually very real. This is real dried Blackbeard wheat, which is good. And it has to be because it's organic. So to get those organic shapes, it has to be something that's, you know, used to be alive. So that's really cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mixture right here. It's a little darker than the mixture I have in the airbrush. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the liner brush and the ink and it's the same ink. Just I believe this here is um, three. I think it's 3 full eyedroppers of water with 4 drops of India ink, and you'll be surprised just that. You know, that ratio, which is mostly water by like 20, 30 times, will still give you a dark ink. So you really want to, you know, so your, if you email me, I will send you my chart, which is something you can't get anywhere else. So be sure to do that. And that's paintedglyphs@gmail.com. It really does. I mean, your ink's going to go bad well before you finish it. And everyone knows how much I paint, so, and I've had mine. I have a 32-ounce bottle. I have mine now probably about a good 7, 8 years. I would say 7 years. So, YouTube people, you guys still out there? Just give me a shout out. Let me know that you guys are still seeing this. What I like to do is I like to use a dry brush technique. And yeah, Willie, this is great. I highly recommend it. You could really paint with India ink and just you can really just do some great work for very little money. So you're not going to spend all kinds of money on paints if you're going to be doing black and white. Not everyone is doing automotive, and some people are just using it as a fine art medium. So, using India ink is a really great alternative, economically and otherwise. Oh, Wendy, you're on YouTube. I wonder if Facebook, because I haven't had a Facebook comment in a little bit. I was wondering if Facebook is still alive and well. So any of you Facebook guys, just drop me a quick line. So what you want to do is you want to just go ahead and just dry off some excess paint. Oh, thanks, Wendy. And you can see I'm getting much more specific with some of the hair shapes, which would be much harder with the India ink and the airbrush. Oh, great. Fantastic, Wendy. So we are cooking with gas. So we are good in Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Now, some people call it the 70-30 rule, the 80-20 rule when it comes to airbrush. I would probably say I'm more of an 80-20 rule. 80%. Oh, thanks, Joe. Thanks for the shout out, sir. I'm more of the 80-20 rule guy, where it's 80% airbrush and I would say 20% other mediums. And not just for the sake of having other mediums, but there are other things or other tools that are far more up for the challenge of different techniques or different things you're going to paint, such as hair. I mean, this is really so much easier using this liner brush here. I'm so glad you're going to give it a shot, Willie. You're going to love it. Serious. You really are going to like it. I'm going to do some of these little straggler hairs here. Also right here, there's some hairs that sort of are light against a dark background and then dark against a light background. And you want to go ahead and indicate that. Yeah, Wendy's in two places at once. That is so cool. Only on the internet, I think. And then I'm gonna show you how I go ahead and use uh, the pastel. But as you can see, you know, it's really a great technique for hair. But let me show you something else which is really wild. Now, I painted that hair in for quite some time, so that is really dry and it's as adhered to the surface as possible. Just gonna clean off this brush there. You want to keep your everything, all your art supplies clean because you want to use them time and time again. So definitely always make sure you clean as you go. But I was going to show you guys how really cool it is with this ink that you're able to, you see that? This is almost like the illustration colors where you can actually just erase in the latter stages, and I'll tell you, it's really great. Yes, I think you're still on YouTube. I still see you, which is cool. But this is just like an added weapon for you guys when you're doing your airbrush, that you can use this to make changes. Case in point, right? We're working on right here, this little indentation on her brow. So we're going to bring out the airbrush again. Let's go ahead over here, use a different camera. And we're going to just, well, first we're going to test it out over here. Always test before, right? And then we're going to darken. So we're going to go ahead and darken this. I'm actually really excited about this technique, guys. I really think it's freeing up things for me. And I think it's a technique that could catch on. So we went ahead and we darkened that up a bit. But let's say you want to adjust that, right? So you can just go ahead and let's see if we can zoom in today. Okay. Okay, great. So we can go ahead and just lift off. See how we can erase and perhaps get the shape we want. Or even put some light in the shadows. Sort of a stippling effect. So we can actually do that, which is wild. And kind of groundbreaking when it comes to anything with India ink. I mean, I've been using India ink for underpaintings for years, but just recently I'm exploring it as a finished art form in itself. And of course, if anyone knows me, knows that I am a big stickler for drawing all the time and how important it is for airbrush. And any painting that you're doing, whether it's airbrush, pastel, oils, drawing is always going to help you. So always make sure you draw as much as possible. But as you can see, I have some really nice texture going on, and I have some really great linear quality that I can get with this using the liner brush and the same India ink. So it's a very versatile, forgiving technique. I'm just going to clean off this brush. And what we'll do is we'll zoom out. But as you can see, I have a lot of wiggle room. It's not like I'm painting an airbrush and, and I'm doing it with acrylic paint and I got to be very careful. It's very much like the illustration paints. If anyone used Drew Blair's illustration paints, how great they are for erasing and for being forgivable. Hey Willie, thank you so much for asking. Yes, the book is going really well. I really appreciate that. Have you been following my blog, Willie? I have it, it's right there below. It's right over here. Right there, you can see my blog. And I'm up to page 33 or 32 of entries, and basically, I'm just writing all the different entries on pastel from my book, the pastel painting method, which is really cool. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. But I'm very excited about it. I really think it's something that's needed out there. And it's going to be my first book. And I think I'm going to do my next book after that on drawing. After that one's published and out there, and then we could worry about the next one, the next big project. As you can see, I'm able to adjust a lot. And just sort of getting some of these stray hairs here. It's just a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Wendy. Yes, so don't worry about being behind, Willie, no problem. But yeah, it's going really well. It's getting it almost has. I think I have over 6,000 views in the past month, which is not bad, considering before that I think the most views I had in a month before I started the book on the blog was maybe like 300. So really doing well. Well, thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, the blog is a lot of fun to write, and I just love the fact that I'm able to share some really great tips with everybody. And the book's going to be about that, just something that you can have in your studio just to continue to refer to when you're in different stages of your painting. Okay. Yeah, there is a little bit of a lag. I'm so sorry about that, guys. A little bit. But hopefully it'll get better. So, Bill, thanks for coming by, man. So glad to see you, and I really appreciate it. Shoot me an email. I'll send you that. Link with the with my mixtures, my dilutions to get different values. So that would be great. So very cool. And let's see here. How many airbrushes do I run at the same time? Not really. I usually run 2 at the same time, and I'll show you real quick here. Let's go to this camera. Let's see. Okay. Well, okay. I'm just going to change cameras, and I'll show you. So right here is my, and then I'll just lift. So these are my two airbrushes I'm running right now. It's, I'll do something really radical here. I'll take this off. So right here, you can see are my two airbrushes, and then that's my closet. So that's my two airbrushes, and then that's my compressor right there. And so that's, and of course, I'll show you, this is my other closet. And that's my camera setup. So we have the overhead, and that's my mic. That's a painting back there. You see that? That's a large one. That's 3 feet by 4 feet. I still have to finish it. I'm getting close though. And of course my laptop, which I'm working from. So yeah, and that's over on behind that fan is my other desk where I do my blogging from. So that's basically my setup. I usually never run more than 2 airbrushes at a time. I have 4 working airbrushes right now, 3 or 4 working airbrushes going. Let's see. Okay, cool. So, hey Kiva, how you doing? Where are you, Kiva? I do see that Wendy said hi, Kiva. So I hope you're doing well, Kiva. It's always great to talk to you. Thanks for coming by. It's so cool. So Kiva, what we're doing is we're working on the airbrush in India ink, which is pretty different, pretty radical. So I'm really happy to share that with everybody. And so we're almost done with this. I'm almost done with the painting, but you know, we haven't been on for too long, maybe about a half hour. So I'm basically showing Kiva a lot of the different techniques I'm using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bring in another technique here. Let's see. Now what I have to do is locate the pastel pencil. Here we go. And a good eraser is always so important. That's what I always have to have a good sharpener and a good eraser. See, a beautiful point. That's so important. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can just show you how I use this. Wow, thank you so much, Kiva. I appreciate that so much. See how you can get texture just by having the slightest variation of the stippling of light. Remember, light is always stippled on. It's never something that is just a line, ever. The only time that would ever happen would be, you know, in a highlight in the eye where there's a lot of light hitting it. Not in this case, because her eye is pretty much in shadow. I'm going to open up this door. Maybe that will help my internet connection a little bit. So in about 2 weeks, I'm going to purchase a booster. It's going to be about $100, and that's going to be great because that booster is going to allow me to get a lot stronger internet connection, and we won't have any kind of delays. So that's going to be nice. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and zoom in on her nose here. And I'll show you guys. There we go. Now, as you can see, my work is very much influenced by 19th century French painters, such as Jacques-Louis David, Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres, William Adolphe Bouguereau. So, even though I'm working with 21st century materials, painting and drawing like a 19th century painter. So I always I always say to myself, wow, this is what maybe Angre would have done if he had an airbrush. Not saying I'm as good as Angre. I'm just means that, I think he would have enjoyed airbrush if it was working in this way. So guys out there, how many airbrushes do you guys run at the same time? And if you do, uh, what are the advantages or what are the disadvantages? I know when I do two airbrushes at a time, the big disadvantage is the cleanup, right? Oh, that's two airbrushes just hurts. Make sure that you follow the forms and make sure that the highlight is not just something that is stuck on there. Remember, it's like snow. I tell my young students, make sure that, just like the snow on the mountain, on the top of the mountain, and in this case, when you're painting, the top of the mountain is whatever's facing the closest and most direct facing the light. That's the top of the mountain, and that would be where there's more snow. And then when you look at it that way, it's a lot easier, 100 times easier. If you know the concept of what the light is and what light is doing, that's really going to help. So look at what's really great about this. Let's say, I know you can't do this, and believe me, I love working in acrylic, I love working in golden, and working on, working airbrush, and I'm not saying this is the best medium or any better, but this medium is actually pretty cool. If you were to want to calm that down and not get rid of it, you can basically just take your kneaded eraser, just a couple of hits, and you have really de-emphasized that without losing it. So that's really fantastic. So we're really getting to the point where we're not only reproducing what we see, but we're actually taking a step further and making it textural and actually feeling the skin. You know what I mean? So that's great. Oh wow, Joe, you own 11. So 2 are down and 6. Wow, 6 at one time. Yeah, that's true. And Joe, do you do T-shirts or as well? Is that something that, or you just like having your colors and just going in and not having much, you know, much prep time between colors? I can see that as well. And of course, you want to make sure that you gauge the colors, right? You gauge the values. Now, over here, it's light, right? But definitely not as light as here and here. And the same thing here. Here it's very light, but is it as light as here? No, this is actually a stronger light because it's her cheek. It's facing closest to the light source. So that's going to be your strongest light. Here it's a little more calmed down, but it gets a little stronger just in like little bits and pieces here. So yes, that would be a lot of cleanup, that's for sure. 6 brushes. So you want to not only make sure you find the lights and everything, but you want to find the relations. Where are the strongest lights? Now let's go ahead and see if we can hit just a few of those highlights using the pastel pencil. Now I'm going to do an experiment down the line, and I'm going to see how by using white paint, white acrylic, how it would work with this. But I don't think it would be as forgiving, but I'm going to experiment that down the line. But right now, definitely white pastel is the way to go. So let's go ahead and hit a few of these highlights here. And just a few, you don't got to go crazy. You just want indications. And one of the things you want to see the movement of those highlights, because if they're all over the place, it's not going to look real. It's just not going to be cohesive. Oh, definitely. I agree. Cleaning between, anything you're doing besides painting during your painting session is a bother. So I definitely agree. So, especially if you're, really in the middle game of your painting where you're going from one color to the next, I can definitely see that. So it really pays to have a really sharp pastel pencil. Super sharp. See, because you have some lights here, but then you ask yourself, is the highlight there as strong as here? No. So you can de-emphasize that by just tapping it. That's one way of doing it. And there's another way. Let's see. White ink would have no problem whatsoever because the paper is able to absorb the India ink no problem. So the absorption wouldn't be the issue I would have is how forgiving it is. Is it as forgiving as the pastel pencil? Because with the pastel pencil, for instance, I'll come here and I'll just make things too light, right? So right here, it's just way too light. So what I can do is I can just take the knead eraser and make it disappear. Now the question is, can I do that with the ink? And if I can't, then it wouldn't be an advantage, but I'm definitely check. The one thing about Higgins that I do find is that besides the India ink, the other colors aren't very erasable. Not at all. So, the brown and the red, you can erase them to some extent, but not too much. So that is something that I'm going to keep in mind when I do the experiment. I'll probably do an experiment on a very small piece of paper. And as you can see, I can calm down those highlights because some of them are a little ardent. And I could just, there we go, just do some really nice gradations. So as you can see, we're working with, 3 different mediums. We're working with the airbrush, we're working with the paintbrush, we're working with the pastel pencil, all together to create a really sharp look. So I really am happy with it. This is only the second time I'm actually using this technique, that I actually tried it. But what's really great is just the forgiveness of it. Now, that's a good question, Wendy. Pastel would be more forgiving, but uh, acrylic would definitely be difficult to erase. It depends on the acrylic though, but still you don't have too many times you could do some really heavy erasing without eventually damaging the paper. And of course that, so here's another way to calm down some color. So look, hardly any tip dry whatsoever. So I want to calm down that color, I can just dust over it. And then I can go over it again. And there's no problem. But what that creates is some really great, realistic hair. And while I'm here with the airbrush, let's go ahead and hit some of these darks here. Some of these skin textures, what I did was I lowered the air pressure really low. And when you do that, you get a stippling effect. If I lower it even like super low. Let me see if I can show you here. So what I'll do is I'll just and I'll go ahead and just zoom in and show you what you can do when you actually do that. Let's see. Let's see if I can get that. Here we go. Yeah, I think you're gonna have to take my word for it on that one. But yeah, you get this really nice stippling effect, which is really great. So I highly recommend doing that. Lower the pressure a lot. And says I'm not connected to live chat. Let me reconnect. Okay, cool. So YouTube is back. Oh, no problem. So let me see. So let me see what you said here, Kiva. I'll be happy to answer. So which do you like doing better, black and white portraits in India ink or the illustration paints? I love the illustration paints, Kiva. Drew's formula is amazing, but I left it for working with golden when it comes to using acrylic. And I use golden because of a lot of factors, and one of the factors is their customer service and the fact that I could use heavy-bodied acrylics and open acrylics and all these gel mediums with it, so it opens up a whole different world. So that's why I don't use Createx. As far as the ink, I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes, you know, I feel guilty when I'm not doing colored paintings, you know, full color paintings, you know, because that's always the most challenging. But I guess I really do enjoy doing these ink paintings. They're really a lot of fun. Oh no, really? Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Hopefully it's just a little hiccup there, I hope. And you can see you keep going back and forth. We can keep going back and forth with the paintbrush and the airbrush. Just really pushing things back and forth. But yeah, the one of the great things about the ink is it has those qualities, Kiva, that the illustration paints have. Is that you can go ahead and erase them way down the line after they dried, which is great. Really fantastic. You can just do some dark accents here and there, which is fantastic. And I think that adds a little bit to the quality of the realism. Just get some nice hard edges here and there. Hey, what's up, Jacob? Good to see ya. So I really love the fact that we could. Oh, thanks, Wendy. Yeah, the internet is. Last week, Saturday, my internet died. So I had no internet on Saturday or Sunday and part of Monday. Wow, I can't believe how much I'm attached to the internet. It's crazy. And for me, with my book, my blog book and the live streams and my videos, it really, really is scary to be without internet for a while. Hey Joe, man, always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much, and uh, so have a great dinner and get some really cool art supplies, and look forward to seeing your work on Facebook as always. So I think we're having a really good session today. I'm still going to be doing the drawings on here, but I really wanted to show you guys, I'm excited about this technique here. And if anyone is interested in that chart, just send me an email. I'll email you back. Very key when you do I'll show you guys here. So very key is when you go ahead and dip it in the ink here, it's going to be too wet, too dark. And what I do is I just get the excess paint. It's sort of like a dry brush, and this way I'm in control of how dark it is. But it definitely has this 19th century French academic feel to it, and I'm really happy about that. And I love the way that you can get hard and soft edges. To me, that's really amazing. How this works. So the brand of India ink, Kiva, is so crucial. Um, I cannot stress it more than enough. I cannot stress it enough. You want to get the Higgins. Now Higgins makes different inks. They make a Black Magic. They make another ink that's not waterproof, and then they have the Higgins waterproof India ink. This one's all beat up, but that's the best. So you definitely want to get that. So you want to make sure you get that brand, because the other brands won't work as well. Especially with these erasing techniques, it's pretty much non-existent. So definitely, if you get a chance. So I would test Amsterdam, and I would give it a shot. I would see, but I think there's a big difference. I know if you use an acrylic ink, it's more of an acrylic paint in a sense, but then if you use, let's say, an a straight ink like this, it's more of a dye. What problems or lacquer ink is also something you should really be scared of, because that could actually do some damage in your painting, that in your airbrush, I should say. It could clog up your airbrush. But since this is a dye, I had no problems. I've been shooting ink through this since 2000 and I don't know, maybe 2010, 2011. I've been testing inks through it before I was really full-fledged into painting with the airbrush. I would use it for that. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Thank you so much. I appreciate that, sir. Good to see you. Yeah, and we're just having fun, uh, you know, hanging out and talking about India ink and paint. So I really love that I'm able to share that. Well, thank you, Kiva. You have a wonderful gift as well, and uh, yeah, definitely if you can order the Higgins, you'll see a difference. I've been doing India ink since I was in high school, so we're looking at a very long time, and the Higgins is always the best. Now, I'm also experimenting with different kinds of inks, like colored inks, and I'm using a brand called FW, which is also De La Rowney Company, and that's the best, I think, for like sepia or burnt sienna, and you can do some really great things with that. But you don't have the erasability that you do have with the Higgins waterproof India ink, which is great. Okay, so we're going to take my custom micron. Now I had it really low, remember? So I'll raise the air pressure a little bit. Oh, okay. So Kiva, you've had some issues with clogging. So tell me, were you using the Amsterdam brand? Because that could be the culprit, because I never get any clogging at all. Actually, I walked away from this airbrush for like an hour and a half. I just kept the airbrush filled with ink, and no problem. And when I clean it, I'll have no problem whatsoever. It's very thin, and I water it down so much. Really, it's really, really surprising how well this is working for me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting some really nice edges in that hair again. Sometimes I make my own freehand shields out of some mylar, and then I just cut it with a sharp razor blade and just sand it, and you can make your own, which is great. Different sizes, save a lot of money. It's not as good as the other ones, but does the job. So you can get some nice hard edges here. Same thing here. Let's get a nice hard edge here. Some beautiful edge work in the hair. You get that really nice hard edge, and then some soft edges next to it. That variety. Variety is the spice of life, and it's the spice of your edges in your painting. So you want to look for those really nice variation of edges there. Remember, if you keep moving when you are using the airbrush, you will have a lot more control. What really excites me, Kiva and everybody, about the India ink is that I can get a variety of edges from me a lot easier than with the acrylic. Ah, thanks. Yes, Chris, definitely go for it. And if you have any questions, always shoot me an email, Timothy, actually, no, paintedglyphs at gmail.com. And I'd love to answer any questions or about materials or anything. So, yeah, go for it. You definitely can do it. If I can do it, Chris, you can do it. And so look at this. This is a good this is good that we see this together. See, like I was always told, like by like people into fashion, when you are ready to go and you close your eyes and look in the mirror and whatever you see that stands out immediately, that's usually something you got to get rid of. The same thing when I work in like paint, and if I see something that stands out, most likely I have to get rid of it. So you see this right here? That's just too darn strong, and it's distracting. So this is a great thing about the Higgins Waterproof India ink on the daily rounding paper. See that? De-emphasization. I don't know if that's a word, but it should be. See that? We can just, it's so forgiving. If this was in, using acrylic paint, it wouldn't be as forgiving. Yes, definitely. What kind of computer do you have, Willie? Do you have like a regular Windows computer and it has like a blue port for a monitor, or are you using a desktop? And you can see, even in this late stage of the game, look how I could just create some beautiful, beautiful hair by using this eraser. The brand I have, which I really love, Wendy, what's the name of that brand again? Of the projectors? ViewSonic. Yes. Okay, so definitely want to get a ViewSonic, and if you do have uh, like if you do have the one I have has actually the connectors to the monitor, the old the blue ones. That's always a good one to get if you have an older desktop. And what I do is I just hook that up to my computer monitor on my computer, and that projects the image on the wall. Now, does your computer have two ports for two different monitors? Because that would make a big difference. What you could do, Willie, you have my email, which is paintedglyphs at gmail.com. Email me the brand and model number you have for your desktop, and I'm going to give you some perfect suggestions, different models that you could actually purchase that would be a big help as far as digital projectors. So email me that. I'll get back to you tomorrow, and I'll actually give you several. Do you want to get a used one or a new one? I do recommend getting new if you can, if you have the means. Hey, Jacob, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yes, Willie, Wendy just said that she got the ViewSonic on eBay, and how do you feel about the ViewSonic so far, Wendy? Now, pretty soon I'm going to get to the point on this painting where I'm going to have to stop because I'm going pretty far into it. And I don't want to get too dark or anything like that. So I want to be a little careful. But this expression line right here, which is very important, right here. Yes, so that's a caveat. If you do purchase it used, as Wendy did, you can have some issues. Um, so she was having some issues with, with the used one with the HDMI port. So, so definitely, I'm glad you're getting a new one, Willie, because that's going to help a lot. Yeah, so definitely view Sonic. So go ahead and send me your model number and the brand and model number, and we'll see if we can find the perfect model for you. Yes, right. Wendy is speaking from experience how important it is to get a new one. But one of the things I really, yeah, unfortunately, Wendy, and one of the things I'm really love about this technique is I get to use some of the pastel because I'm using pastel for most of my career, so I get to employ some of that. I get to do the airbrush, which I'm totally in love with, and I get to go ahead and use the paintbrush. So I get to do everything here. So I like that a lot. I like employing different stuff. So it's working so far, but when the HDMI is not working, that's not good. Oh, right. Definitely. That's now. So the HDMI is still not working, or is it just periodically that it's? Oh. Okay, so you have the autograph flare. Okay, and you really enjoy that? That's cool. Okay, so that's a good, that's definitely good testimony. I appreciate that. Oh, you got it 119. Where'd you get that on eBay? That's a pretty good deal. Definitely. Thanks for that input. I appreciate that. Yeah, these live streams are great, Willie. We get just information from so many different sources here, and Kiva does some really great stuff. And we have so many talented people, Wendy and Jacob, and just it's great. So definitely. See, that's the thing. The fact that the lamp is scratched is not a good thing. The lens is scratched is not a good thing because it could be a distraction. You might end up, when you're doing the projection, it could get in the way of seeing the image clearly. I'm actually working on a large pastel painting, and that was interesting uh, to project, but I did was able to do it. It has several several. It has the girl who posed for me, and I projected her, and then I projected the background, and then I have to project some elements, and now I'm in the middle of the drawing stage of it. So yeah, that's a great feedback there, Kiva. Thank you so much, and you really are happy with it. Good equipment is everything. I really feel. Um, you don't want to think about your equipment, right? You just want it to work. That's how I am. I don't want to think about my computer. I just want it to work. Of course, I know a lot about computers, but in essence, when I'm doing something like now, I just want it to be a great picture for my camera. When it comes to cameras and for video, great lenses. I'll do the research definitely, but at the end, you just want it to work. That's the most important thing. So it's getting pretty close. I think I'm happy with this so far. Yes, the one I have is a ViewSonic, and I purchased mine for about 200. It was on sale years ago, and I love it. It's the kind that they use for businesses, when they do their presentations, and it works and it's clear. I can actually project in the daytime, so that's great. Yeah, so Wendy said that you can find it some really good deals for like $75. So definitely keep your eyes out for that. Also look for some really good discounts. Uh, Now, Willie, are you here? You're here in the States, right? Or are you in England? No, I think you're here in the States, if I'm not mistaken. So a little bit off camera. Let me see if it's going to be in this scene here. Oh, fantastic. Okay, cool. So yeah, Staples is good. Uh, yeah, so Wendy does a lot of, I mean, Kiva does a lot of murals, so she needs one to actually project large. So if you're doing large jobs, that's very good. Nice, very cool. So Jacob's gonna finish up his drawing tomorrow, and he's gonna start painting. That's nice. So I'm gonna go and see if let me see if this is okay. You see her shoulder here. I'm just gonna let me see if I can get a little better view of her shoulder there, and we're just gonna go a little darker here. And you can see as I pull further away, I actually it will get lighter and the spray pattern will get more separated, and that just basically reproduces the pores of her skin, which is really great. And of course you can lower the air pressure. Let me show you guys. See here, I can lower the air pressure with this little valve because the CMSB does not have the MAC valve over here. So I purchased the uh, external MAC valve, and what I do is I press down the air, and then you can adjust it lower or high. So I put it real low so I get that sort of stippling spray pattern. So that helps. Yeah, that's a big help, especially if you're working on the fly, right, Kiva? That's for sure. So we're just going to work on this shoulder area. And remember, I lowered the air pressure a lot. I might be at like 5 or something right now. And I'm really far away. I'm working right here on the small of her back. Okay, so we'll go back to this view over here. So Kiva, today's your birthday. Happy birthday. No way. You must be at least like, you must be at the most 29. So I definitely don't believe that you're 40, and you look great. So happy birthday. It's so cool to get to talk to you on your birthday, Kiva. Oh, Willie, no problem, man. Thank you so much for stopping by. Definitely send me that email, and then we'll go ahead and we'll talk further about some different alternatives, and also think about the one that Kiva said, which was really great. So that's very cool. So, oh, I do see that we have some little hairs here. Some very light hairs. So let's see what we have here. So we're just going to do some really very light hairs here on the side. This is where the actual paintbrush really comes in handy. And it works better than the airbrush, and that's why I use it. As you can see, we get some really beautiful edges here. Ah, well, you do look 29, that's for sure. Definitely. So it doesn't matter how many years we have. That's just years. That has nothing to do. So you're very young. I still feel 17, and I won't tell anyone how old I am. And let's see how. So I really love the, going back and forth with the paintbrush. And so right here you can see, right, I have this eraser, and I could just use this. That's a really cool deal here. I really love this. Yes, definitely. Mixing the media is perfect, and I think we should be mixing it all the time. There's no reason to stick with one media if one is better, because there's always going to be one element of a painting or drawing or whatever that is done better with bringing something new to the table, right? That's for sure. Let's see. There's a nice dark right over here. So we'll accentuate that, give it a feeling of her hair causing a shadow on her ear. Whoop. Okay. So this is basically the technique, and I'm gonna actually, this particular project, I believe I'm gonna make a video of it. Maybe like, like a 2-hour video, just from start to finish, and going over the techniques and everything, because I have been recording this along the way, and I think I started this last week. Okay. All right, so that's going to be it for today. Just a quick video going over this technique. Really happy with it. I think it works. I think it's a medium that I'm going to explore and maybe do some on larger paper. Let me go ahead and so that's basically, well, this is not the best camera, but as you can see, it's pretty wild, using the India ink on this daily rounding paper. There we go. So the application and the possibilities of this is pretty endless. I'm also going to do some experimentation of just adding some light amounts of color here and there. So it's like a desaturation and then just one color coming through, whether it's the red of the lips or maybe the blue of the eyes or something like that. I think that would be exciting. So that's something to think about. Disadvantages of this media, this technique, is that you can't use Frisket film, but you just have to be more careful with your edges. You have to work harder to get the edges that you're looking for. So that's one drawback. Second drawback is that there's no scratching. You can't use a razor blade. But look at what you can do with the eraser at the very end of the painting. You can't do that except I think with Drew Blair's paints has that ability. But I love it. I love the fact that it's still very open to go ahead and do some scratches. Oh, so Wendy says, do I go in with the micron in the final stages of the painting? I usually do, yes. And because the micron, nothing does it like the micron, right? Look at these beautiful little lines. I mean, it's just so great. So yeah, so that's something that you definitely want to. Thank you, Wendy. This is something different that you're not going to get anywhere else, and so I definitely want to do a online course down the line of using this from beginning to end, and I think that's going to be fantastic. This is one of my favorite pieces that I've done in a while, so I feel good about that. Only because it was an experiment, I had no idea what was going to happen. So some experiments work out good. This is a good experiment. So guys, thank you so much. Kiva, happy birthday. Jacob and Wendy, of course. And who else is out there? Whoever else out there, thank you so much for Chris and Piccola, Willie. We have a lot of people, and we also have Joe. Anyone I missed, just thank you guys for hanging out with me on a Wednesday night. I'm going to keep the Wednesday live streams going. I have a full-time job, but I'm out of there by 5. So by 5:30 I'm home, so I'll definitely be able to continue these. Doing different things, maybe drawings or, maybe even some, paintings, full color, airbrush paintings, definitely pastel. So all that's going to be a lot of fun. So Take care, guys. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Happy Wednesday. Take care of yourselves.